Hello, I'm wannabe indie filmmaker Sam McKinstry, and I'm here with a very important announcement. Happy Things Productions have a green screen! Yay! Look at it! Whoa, yeah! Woo! And that means I can do this. I'm in space! I'm under the sea! There's a volcano! And so forth and so forth. Now, we want to use this green screen in kind of making our films and big effecty things, but we needed to do a test first, and that's kind of what this is. But I didn't just want to put in the background gags and everything else. I wanted to do an actual video, maybe something that people could actually watch and not enjoy, because no one enjoys that shit, but you know, you could actually watch if you wanted to. And that's where this comes in. See, a while ago I made a video, and it was about Scatman's and an idea that gentleman had for a Bambi remake that was live action and different, and insert clips here and stuff.
Challenging, ballsy, daring, different.
Ballsy about Bambi. Ballsy?
Ballsy. I say ballsy for Bambi. Daring, different from Aladdin, different from Little Mermaid.
You need something different and something different from the Jungle.
So
Book.
to clarify,
daring, challenging film.
Interesting. Daring choice.
This is a creative choice just to do something different.
And I fucking hated that idea, and I did a criticism of it, and I rambled on for about 30 minutes. It got a nice reaction from most people, not this person, Nikki Wash, filmmaker. She said I move my hands too much, but I don't think that's true. Anyway, so now I want to make another video kind of like that, but I want to do it a bit differently, because I don't just want to be that guy who takes an opinion someone's had and then argue against it. Everyone does that already, and most of the time it's done better than I could do it, like when someone's being a horrible racist, or destroying the NHS, or being ungrateful about the fact that they got paid billions by Disney. So instead, I'm going to try and make a more positive video, and maybe this will be the start of something, maybe it won't. So what do I want to make? Well, I want to make recommendations. I want to recommend something, and I've watched a lot of TV and films, partly because it's my job, so I can say it's homework and get away with watching a shitload of things, and partly because I'm just that kind of geeky guy who doesn't really go out and have fun or drink or do drugs or anything interesting anymore. So, having watched a lot of TV series, I figured, well, what from the last 12 months would I recommend and really want to do a video about? And there's a shit ton of candidates. There's Narcos, which was not only amazing but showed like a moustache like mine. There's a place in the world that will accept it. And there's Making a Murderer, which has led to all kinds of amazing discussions with all the people in my life that I've pushed on it, and people still rant about it. And there's stuff like Man in the High Castle, or more recently The Expanse. They're just really fucking good TV. But the series that really stood out to me, the series that I really didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did, and I thought was really, really wonderful actually, was Scream, the TV series. You probably already knew that if you read the title of the video, but that doesn't, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I wanted to do an introduction, so that's that. So now I'm going to explain why I recommend Scream the TV series, by starting with time travel. The year is 1997. It's my 10th birthday. And for my 10th birthday, I'm having some friends around, and we played a lot of Streets of Rage, from what I remember, and I have no idea what I got, but one memory stands out. At night, we pulled out a VHS copy of Scream, and thanks to non-involved liberal parenting, no one checked. And so at 10, me and I think it was 4 school friends watched Scream. And it scared the ever-loving shit out of me. It was one of the most terrifying experiences I'd ever had as a child. Before then, I had been scared of things like velociraptors after Jurassic Park, but nothing had had that kind of effect. I freaked out walking around corners. I was convinced that somewhere there was a crazy masked fucker waiting to kill me, and I'd never seen anything as violent and gory and crazy, and it really, really, really had a massive effect on me. Now, I'm not saying I was a fanboy. I'm not a Scream fanboy. I didn't even know there was a full film until I recommended the TV series to my girlfriend, and she told me there was. And I kind of never really bothered watching the third one properly either. I watched the second one, I remember not really caring, and there was all the scary movie jokes with the killer doing dances and Matrix effects and things, and that was fine. And I kind of found it funny in the way children think referencing is funny because it isn't really parody. Scary movie films aren't parody, but that's an aside. I'm rambling. I've got to pull it back in. Stop the arm movement. Sorry, Nikki. And but it was a childhood memory of mine, really precious, and a film that affected me and very early taught me about what film can do to someone if it's well made and done great. And I only loved the film more when I watched it as a more of an adult. I wouldn't ever call myself an adult, but when I got older, because what Scream the film does is actually fascinating. It doesn't just tell a horror story. It deconstructs what a slasher film horror story is. It has characters talk about what they're going to do, what they're going to say, why people are going to be killed in a certain situation in this scenario, what the conventions are of the very genre it's doing, and yet still manages to tell the story at the same time. It's fascinating, it's incredibly clever, and it's absolutely a gem of a horror film. It changed what came before and after it, and deconstructed itself at the same time. And I loved it. I loved it as an adult. I could appreciate that it was working on that level, and I still loved it from the child in me, that this was one of the first precious things that really made me feel something I hadn't really felt all that much before.
So, how's the book? Well, it'll be out later this year. Oh, I'll look for it. I'll send you a copy.
Oh, jeez. Nice shot.
Bitch.
No, I mean, camera shot.
And now we come to the TV series. Yeah, we finally got there. Now, I went into the TV series kind of optimistic because it was Scream and it was late at night, and I figured, well, I'll just put one on and see what they do. But also kind of really dreading and expecting the worst, because it's Scream, and this could so easily have been just, hey, people like Scream, let's just put its name on something and they'll fucking watch it. And actually, it kind of was the best it could possibly have been, because the TV series, it kind of is a love letter to the film. Not the films, because the sequels weren't that great anyway, but the TV series, I really feel understood what it was about the film that meant something, that was so great and effective about it, and really went out of its way to respect all that, while also trying to do something different and new and interesting. I'm going to start by saying the pilot. Now, when I watched the pilot, it was quite late at night, and I was sort of expecting, well, I'll probably watch 20 minutes, start drifting off, and then head to bed to the loving arms of my partner. But instead, I really got into it, and it's a really good example of why it works so well. At the beginning of the film, this is the 1996 film, Drew Barrymore has a whole scene where she gets a phone call, and then she ends up in this awful quiz, and her boyfriend dies because she gives the wrong answer, and then she gets killed, and it's very brutally done and very effective and very special, because Drew Barrymore at that time, no one really expected that she would just be killed straight away like that. Or at least that's what I'm told. I was 10, so I didn't really know who she was. The TV series took that scene. It really went, wow, that's a really iconic beginning, and we have to do something like that. But then but we're not going to try and copy it, and we're not going to try and change it. We're just going to throw it out there, quickly get it out of the way, but make sure that we know, and the people watching it know, that we understand that that's part of Scream and that's important, and that's what they did. And after that intro, I was like, well, that was an interesting take on it, because they didn't try and change anything for the sake of changing it to Scott Mann's Bambi film it, but they also didn't just shit on it either. They just changed it up, and they understood the importance of it and handled that whole scene with the reverence it deserved. And the series only went on from there. It took the characters that you'd expect, that you know if you watch the Scream film, and then took them in slightly different directions, but kept them as the character. You have the geeky character who, in the film, he functions as the guy who tells you what's going to happen, explaining the conventions, and you kind of warm to him because he's that geeky weirdo that everyone in film kind of can relate to. And yeah, he's in the TV series, but there's more to him. He's got friendship, he's got relationships, he gets affected by the events that unfold in the TV series, and it's a really great way of keeping the core mechanic of that character and what makes Scream Scream, but also expanding on it and taking it out without having to change things and change what it is going on and make it different for the sake of, well, look, it's our own thing, da 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 da. And the whole way through, the TV series just repeats this kind of aspect of taking the things you expect, and then it subverts it. Characters appear in situations in the film we know end horribly, and they don't end quite as horribly. And other situations, characters you would expect to be fine end up not fine. And I loved that. As a Scream no, not a fan, but as a huge fan of the original Scream film, I really appreciate the care that went into the series in making sure that it didn't wreck anything or insult the intelligence of the first film, and really, really tried to live up to it. And then you have the effort that went in elsewhere. Like, the series is well made, it's really well paced, it's well constructed, there's a hell of a lot of interesting kind of characters and ideas, the effects are fantastic. There's gore and blood, but it's kind of not just gratuitous Saw 2 onwards level of look how bloody and violent we can be, and actually aims to do something more, and it keeps that deconstruction of itself going as well. It keeps having characters kind of make inside jokes about what's going on and what's happening, and throw out there that this person might be a suspect to that person, or we're being led to believe that. And it also is a very interesting story. It really gets going. I'd say about the third episode something happens, and this is spoiler free. Tom argued with me on this point, but I remain determined that we will be spoiler free. But something happens in the third episode that really changes it up, and that's when I kind of became gripped, I'd say. And from then it's just a wild ride. It's, like I said, it's well made, it's well constructed. The acting is, some of it's amazing, some of it's not so much, but it's consistent and it's energetic, and that's kind of what you need in a slasher film. You don't need Laurence Olivier level acting of characters. What you need is consistent characters that you can understand, figure out, and then care or not care, or want them to get slashed, or be annoyed that this person got killed and this person didn't. And that's what a slasher film is. And this series, as well as going through all these characters and really expanding it out, really makes sure it stays within the slasher film convention. And that to me was just awesome, because it could have so easily been a cash-in, and it could have so easily been this cheap insult to the memory of what Scream kind of was when it came out and what it actually achieved, which was remarkable, but it didn't. And that's really, really, really good. There's some bad stuff to this series. I'm not going to just say the good and the bad, but there are a couple of things that I still struggle with. I'm not sure about the Killer's Mask. It's on here now. They kind of redid it up, and I don't hate it. I hated it when I first saw it. Now I'm just kind of uncomfortable when I see it, but that's alright. And also, this isn't a spoiler, but be warned, while the series has a whole story arc and does end, and you could leave it there and be quite satisfied, it does do a bit of sequel baiting that is very shaky and doesn't fill me with confidence for season 2, which they're making. But ignore that, because if one series is good, that's enough. It's like Heroes. Heroes has one good season, but that was a really good season. But this isn't about Heroes, this is about Scream. So that's it. I recommend Scream because if you like Scream the film, the TV series really, really, really is for you, and really make sure it is for you. And if you haven't seen the film, go watch it. It's very 90s. And then see the TV series and see how they've updated themselves and how they've expanded out while staying true to what it is that franchise, I guess, means. Or what that film really. Fuck the franchise. The franchise isn't that good, but the first film is amazing. And the series really, really accomplishes that. So, I recommend it. And thus ends the great green screen experiment. Thank you for watching. Bye!
Just awkwardly stand that, share that, keep recording, and have some music, may as well. Oh look, we've got a green screen. Oh, I'm just gonna keep recording, see if anything happens. Nothing seems to be happening. Oh, some smoke! And we're done.